Hello everyone. So in today's class I'll be showing you how I use Lightroom mobile to enhance my designs and make them top-notch quality aside from the crafting process. So when I started designing, I actually started this enhancing stuff with two apps. The first one I used was Snapseed, Google Snapseed. So I think I'll do a video on that another day, but since we have Lightroom mobile, I have Lightroom mobile available on my phone now. I think we'll be working with Lightroom first, you understand? So I'll be doing the edits on these designs we all did together the other day, so that you can still be able to replicate what I did on your own design that you created, which is similar to this one, you understand? So let's get started. When you open Lightroom, I think the first thing it's going to show you is this kind of like page. You have your gallery, your Lightroom, and the community. So I think the side we are actually interested in is this gallery aspect. So from here you can actually select the picture you want to work on from your gallery, then you start working on them, or you come to Lightroom section and work on the previous edits you've done before. So we'll be working with this first one here. Let me just walk you through the interfaces here and what their various functions are. So we have the first one here, remove. This one is kind of like an eraser, but it's for the premium version. So after you downloaded Lightroom from the Google Play Store, you just have to create an account, then you start using it. Although when you create an account, you'll be able to use just the basic version until you upgrade your plan to the premium, but the basic functions that are available on the app are all that we need, except you just want to go deeper into the photography aspect. That is when you actually need to go for the premium version of Adobe Lightroom, you understand? So the next one here is masking. We have edits, we have crop, presets, and action. So these other icons at the top, this one is to go back, this one is to find out the information about the picture you're working on, and this other one here is to reset all the changes you've made. This one is to show you, I don't know what this one is actually used for. Why this is to share the edit you're working on or to save to your device, you understand? Why the three dot over here is, because see the options it gives: save to device, organize, view option, create preset, copy settings. Like this copy setting is, for example, now you made a tiny mistake on the design and you went back to correct that mistakes while you've already edited this one, for instance, this one. So you can just copy the settings of the edit you did here, then paste it on that new corrected design you made changes on, so that you won't go through the process of selecting or reapplying those edits from scratch. It's just like a copy and paste process, you understand? So that's just it. how it is. So I think that is the one we're actually interested in right now. So the next thing we'll be doing is, after selecting the image you want to work on or the design you want to work on, you just have to come to this edit aspect. So in this edit aspect, you see different options available. I have profile, optics, details, effects, blur, color, light, and auto. So this auto, what this auto does is it automatically edits your image or your design for you, but that is not actually why we are here. So first of all, we have the first one we'll be working with. We can try tune the lighting of this whole design to give us a better um preference, you understand. So we have exposure, contrast, highlights, shadow, whites, blacks, and the rest, and curve. So when you increase the exposure, this is actually what happens to your design. So we can just increase this a little, give it a bit of contrast. Then highlight is kind of like it increases the highlight in a particular design. So there's this tip I actually saw on TikTok where, while your right hand is on the slider, you can place your left hand on the design. And okay, I've forgotten, it's supposed to show this way. Maybe it does not work for highlights, I think, or maybe it's because I'm on this orientation, I don't know. So what it's supposed to do when I do that stuff is, it will actually show you the part of the image this function, like there is this highlight is working on. Same thing for shadow, whites, and black, you understand. So the next thing we'll be doing, let's say we reduce the highlight a little, then reduce the shadow to an extent, then we increase the whites, sorry, we increase the whites a little, the blacks, yeah. So I think this is quite okay. This slight light correction we just did on this design we made. So if you want to see the previous version, which is the original version of what you are editing, and the edited version, all you just have to do, you just have to hold on the image. You see the before will show, then when you release, the after will, that will be what you'll be seeing, you understand. So for this cover aspect, we have different functions. I think this upper section here, this upper section of this graph is like highlights, mid-tone, shadow, and contrast, you understand. So when I bend the curve to the bottom, you see the contrast increases. When I increase it, this side of the graph, the highlight increases. So when I increase here, the mid-tone, you understand. So we are not really interested in this, so all right, so let's just leave this page. So this is just what I'm showing you. So you can actually work on the curve for this for the white section on any design or any image. Same with the red, blue, and green, or even the whole stuff in general, you understand. All right, so aside from this, the next thing we'll be doing is we'll be doing basic or little color correction of this design. So I don't normally use a uniform style on all my designs. I just work with the ones that actually looks best on the design, you understand. So let's go ahead to the color section. So here we have temperature, tint, vibrance, and saturation. So most of you that are actually familiar with these various editing apps, Lightroom shouldn't be an issue, because it's just like you still using the knowledge you had on those other apps and just applying them on Lightroom. Understand? So if we increase the temperature, it's actually to the ending. It actually makes our designs warm, but if we slide it to the left, it makes it cool. So we don't actually have uh, any interest with this temperature. So same thing for tint. Tint has like, it's just like it's giving this your design or your edit a particular let's say feel, color feel, you understand? So we don't really need this. We don't really need this. So the one we'll be working it for design is vibrance and saturation. So if we increase the um, vibrant to the highest, what this does, it actually increases the individual saturation of all the colors. It's just like saturation, but saturation is just like stronger, it's harsher, you understand? So you can use more of vibrance than saturation, you feel me? So let's just proceed. You can see the difference, right? So when we give vibrance 100%, our design still looks nice, but if you use saturation 100%, it's too harsh. Let me just put it that way. So we can just use small saturation, then like 25 of vibrance. So on the top section, you see this black and white. There's some tilly wheel. So this black and white is to actually set your design to the black and white mode, you understand? So this other three circular dots here is called color grade. So we can actually, if I'm correct, yeah, it's color grade. So this other one is like I've forgotten the name they call this, you understand? So here you can actually increase the hue, saturation and luminance of the individual colors in these designs. So we can actually reduce it. We can reduce the saturation of just red from here, you understand? If you notice now in the design, the red aspect is lessly, is saturated a little bit, yeah, you understand? So if we increase the saturation all the way up, you'll notice that red is more saturated than the other colors on this design. So we don't really need this. We just work with the colors that are available. We can just increase the saturation for blue, then same thing for green. Since we have green in our designs, increase it a little. Yellow and red, but you don't have to use this section that much, because if you don't understand this can actually affect the overall look of your design, because just one mistake you can make here can just make your whole design that looks nice to feel like trash. If you don't actually know how to use this aspect, you can just avoid it, but I can just give you a little guide on this. Maybe if you want to increase the hue and saturation and luminance of the individual colors on this design, just work with only saturation, you understand? And it should be nothing more than +3 or -3, you understand? So that's that for that. We'll proceed. So after this, we have this color grade. So this color grade, what it actually does, it gives your design an overall feel. So it's very complicated, you understand, but it's very easy to understand. We can actually use that color harmony knowledge we had under our previous class in this aspect. So we have blue on our design. So the opposite side, colors that are in harmony with blue are yellow. You can just drag this node or this notch to yellow side, then we increase the saturation of that, and you understand it actually is work on the design, but these sides are not necessary. So basically, as a beginner, the functions we are actually interested in Lightroom is the light aspect, the color correct, the color aspect, and probably the texture, the effect and details aspect. You understand? We'll be going to the aspects in a while. Now you understand. So we have various tools here, like this eyedropper tools. So I don't use this that much, but I think professional editors, they actually use this. So let me revert that effect. You understand? So let's go to this effects section in Lightroom. So here, what can we see? We have TV sections, we have effects, vignettes, and grain. So when you increase the texture on this effect page, it gives your design this kind of like feel. Let me zoom in so that you can see it. It gives your design texture. So increasing it a little would be better. So why clarity does this effect to your design, but you understand. So you just have to understand these things properly for you to use them, and you can actually play around the font just to see which one actually looks best on your design. So we'll be going with slight adjustment of this slide for this design, which is +4 and +3. So why the is actually, like the name implies, it this is what it does to your design, but I don't think that actually looks nice, so just leave it the way it was. So why vignette? What vignette does is it actually gives the edge, this kind of like it applies shadows to the edge of your design. You understand? So when you slide it to the right, it gives you this white shadow, but white glow. But when you slide it to the right, it gives these dark shadows around the edge of this design. You understand? Or the image you are working on. So we are not really interested with much of this. We can just use very little. You understand? So after adjusting the slider, these other options will become available for you to work on: midpoint, feather, roundness, and highlight. So if you want to actually see these other functions in effect, you just have to increase the amount significantly. So when you increase the midpoint, as you can see, this is what it does to the design. It actually increases the radius of the visible aspect, the aspect that does not have the shadow. You understand? Why the feather, it kind of like gives it a kind of like fade between the clear side of the design and the sides and the edges that has this shadow stuff. So the roundness, I think roundness is just like the radius, if I'm not mistaken, radius of the shadow it applies to the edges. You understand? Why the highlights, this is what it does. So we'll just be using a little amount of this. Let's say mine +1. So why for green is a tricky tool, so we don't actually need it that much because it gives our design this film look, except the design you are working on, the concept you have for that design is this kind of like film kind of look. This is when you can use green to add something like noise to your edit or to your design, you understand. But aside from that, I don't think it's we should be using that all the time, so let's keep it, leave it 0, you understand. So why for detail, you can actually sharpen your images from here. So when you move the slider, our image becomes very, very sharp. But I think too much of everything is actually bad, so we'll be using 25 or 50 form. We'll be working with from the range of 15 to 25 for this on any designs we'll be working on, you understand. While for noise reduction, okay, when you use too much of noise reductions, it can actually reduce the clarity of your design, I think. So I don't use noise reduction that much, so I just mainly work with sharpening in this detail aspect of Lightroom. So this optics, I don't know, I've not used this since I started using Lightroom. While profiles, these are, I think these are mainly for pictures, or you just want to use a different color profile for your images or your design. This is the section you actually go to. So in our next class, where I'll be showing you how to use Snapseed to color correct or to enhance your designs, it will just be left for you to choose between Snapseed and Lightroom to see which one actually works best for you. So I actually started with Snapseed before I graduated to Lightroom. I'll urge you to do the same, because Snapseed is more user friendly, but Adobe Lightroom comes with a lot of options than Snapseed, you understand. So I think for beginners, Snapseed is highly recommended. So after you've used Snapseed for a while, you can then try out Adobe Lightroom. So aside from that, you can still play around Lightroom and try and work around the different functions and see how they actually affect your design and how it looks. You can just recreate what we did here on your own version of this design, then you share the result on the group chat. So after you've done that, to save your work to your gallery, you just have to click on this share icon, then save copy to device. So as soon as you do that, this will load. So after it's done rendering your edit, you are good to go. So that will be all for today. See you in our next class.